events, previous causal events, and I can't choose those things. So, and that's how that. So, if what do we mean by intuition? Something that seems easy to understand, and that seems quite easy to understand to me than the idea that I'm not constrained by my previous events. That it just comes out of the blue, out of nowhere, without any determination. Right? That seems a bit harder, and I would say that's more counterintuitive. So philosophers' intuitions might be different after you've learned about these things, and you might actually think that it's more counterintuitive to imagine something logically impossible, right, than to accept the thesis that all physical causes have physical effects or something, and therefore you are a physical effect with a physical cause that you did not choose, and or something like that. So this is why I would avoid the word intuition entirely. And
Mm.
yeah, I think you're right in the sense in the sense that if you actually learn about these things, learn about all these concepts, how the environment impacts you, genetics impact you, it's actually not intuitive to think that will is free. When you start defining what does will mean, what does free mean, it's definitely not free, right? So so the more intuitive solution to this is in the direction that free will isn't the case in the way a completely untutored person would think about it, right? So yeah, I think I agree with that. Yeah.
And you raised a very good question. What would even free will mean? Right? Where is that will coming from? What is that thing that will is coming? Again, this is I don't want to go into too much detail, but if you think about it, it becomes very if you again if you think about it philosophically, you're right that it becomes a bit more difficult to rationalize free will than than a deterministic understanding of the world.
Yes, and should that be the intuitive thing? And it could be like in
Exactly.
100 years when everybody are determinists, let's say, like 100, 200 years, let's say, when if it is the case, that might be the natural conclusion. That might be the most obvious thing. Whereas this free will thing was just like a square triangle, right? It just didn't make
Mm.
sense. And yet these guys are trying to say that free will is the intuitive thing. No, maybe it's not. Yeah. Anyway, do you want to go, Philo? Do you want to say something?
No, all I had was this question. I just wanted to, promulgate this question that Khayali asked, is that if you are thinking that you have a mind that is free to think, are you saying that that mind has been programmed to think freely, means it is not free? Is that what you're saying?
No, no.
So
Sorry.
when
Can you
you're
repeat?
saying free will, say a mind has can think freely, basically, right? And
Right,
then
right.
that mind, if suppose that mind is an independent entity, and are you saying in a worldview where there is a god, that god must have created that mind with that a pre-programmed set of wills that it can will?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to go there, so if you're referring to what I just explained in terms of what Mufti Yasir was inferring and how even believers look at this world, is that what we're
No,
talking
no,
about?
I was just
Or
questioning that your
the
last
last
point.
question that
Yeah,
I put
just
in? Yeah, the
yeah,
last
yeah,
point.
last point.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, even if you
Right.
look at it from because that is a very again you will have to go into very deep maybe discussion
Yeah, I
about this,
think
but
yeah, that's gonna be probably
it's a
yeah,
bit too
it's
deep.
so
I mean, because
it'll
it
be
does
too deep.
brings in yeah, because if you think about it, so
Because there
even
is just
when I
that problem there, right?
exactly.
It's
You're
a
right,
huge
and
problem there, right?
you asked a very good question actually. And because when you say that there's, so let's say there's a soul, according to them, there's a soul which is completely free in willing, right? They can will whether doing A or doing B. Now the question is,
Right,
why do they will A instead of B? Is it
right,
because of something random again? Is it truly something truly random? Is it do they choose A instead of B because of a very because of random occurrence, or is there a reason behind it? Is there something innately built into them to choose A rather than B? And if there is something innate, if it's truly random, then again it's meaningless. It doesn't matter whether it's a free will, because it's just a random event that happens. And if you said that no, there is something innate, then again, where did that innate nature come from? Was that built by God in that way? So we'll go
Right,
once again into that
exactly.
circular, example. So ultimately, if you think about it, you'll never be able to find that free will, truly free, willing
I
agent
think in
that
their
you want
own
to pin down.
terminology, they yeah, in their own terminology, they want to get it at absolute things,
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
Absolutism is what they love. So when you
exactly.
talk about free will, do you have an absolute free will? Probably not. They'll probably admit themselves. So
Yeah.
maybe they have somewhat mix of a free will. Maybe a large part of it is governed by
Yes.
Allah, and then
Genetics and
you have
environment, yeah,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
But then the question would again, if you're saying that a large part of it is explained or defined by God, then the part that is not defined by God, what about that? So where does that come from? That free portion that is truly free.
yeah.
There's
I
a
think
portion that
yeah,
is
the
truly
problem
free.
still remains, right?
Yeah.
Problem still
So you
remains.
would again
Yeah,
apply the same line of questions to that portion that they, according to them,
right,
is truly free. So I
right,
think
right.
they would be facing the same problems.
Yeah, I think we do need to move on, but yeah, I agree that if you're going to have a free decision maker, the decision maker presupposes a set of attributes, desires, and motivations that he
Yeah.
freely holds, right? But he never chose those attributes, motivations, or desires, right? If we just think that there are just some desires, and by free will we mean that it occurs in accordance to their desires, then all we have is the compatibilist version of free will. But it
Yeah.
doesn't resolve the issue of, because I don't think compatibilism can resolve the issue of can you do otherwise, right?
Right.
But the only way you
Right,
can
right.
do otherwise is if you had a different desire, a different motivation, a different set of attributes. You see that? So always by definition, you're going to make that choice. So if you freely choose a Coke, and this happened because of your desires in your soul, let's say you have a soul, this is not determined by any previous other events in this deterministic universe, but it's still determined by the attributes in your soul. Yeah, yeah, either
Yeah.
that or
Yeah,
Ali
you
said,
can't take
no,
your soul's attributes away, right? Otherwise,
yeah.
yeah,
But either that, either your soul's attributes or randomness, nothing. In each
yeah,
case, in each
exactly.
case, you don't get free will. It's randomness, it's not free will, because it's like the reason that you do something is because of a
Yeah.
coin flip. Has no
A
connection
conflict.
between them.
No
On the
connection.
other hand, if it's because of some attributes, those attributes existed already within you without you choosing those attributes. You never had a chance to choose them. So if you have just an attribute there that makes you like coffee rather than tea, then you're going to choose coffee. If you have an attribute that makes you like killing people, then you're going to choose killing people over not killing people. Though you never pick those attributes, and you're bound by those attributes. If you try to pick those attributes, then there's going to be another set of attributes helping you pick those attributes. And if you try to pick those attributes, there's going to be another set of attributes.
Yeah,
You're always bound
it's
by
an
that.
yeah, it's an infinite regress pretty much in that case,
Exactly. Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it seems as though there's going to always be some unchosen attributes determining your actions. And you don't need to imagine a physical deterministic universe all the way back to the Big Bang. Even a soul is subject to this determinism. You're determined by your soul, your personality, etc.
Exactly.
And I think that's the thing with words. But if you're determined by your personality, it's still your personality. But here's the thing: if you're just a personality and you never picked your personality, then you're just bound by whatever you are, and that's the
Exactly.
unfreeness of it. Yeah. If
Exactly.
you,
Then you don't believe in free will.
yeah, yeah, yeah. If you're just this guy who is obsessively committed to committing crimes, then that's just what you are, and that yeah. So that's the issue. But anyway,
Yeah, I think we should move on. We could
Yeah.
talk on this for hours and hours, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe we will
But I think but I
probably.
think I think it's good that we raised this point over here. It was a good question, and I think, but we did cover the gist of it. I think we have covered it to
Yeah,
some
yeah,
extent.
definitely, definitely. It's an interesting question. Okay,
And
let's
but
move on.
yeah, one more comment. This once again, we'll come back to the same. I'll come back to the same point that Mahdin mentioned. If you start to think about it, if intuition, as Mahadan said, using the word intuition, it doesn't mean anything, because once you start thinking about it, for me, for Mahadan, for you, for Philo, it's more intuitive to think that free will doesn't exist. So for us, it's intuition, if you want to use that word. Then for us, it's intuition to believe that there is no free will, rather it's a deterministic world. And for maybe for Sabur and Reese, it's for their, it's they therefore feel more at ease, or their reasoning have led them to believe that they have free will. So intuition, using the word intuition to dismiss an argument, I think it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't work, basically. It doesn't work. Yeah. All right, let's move on.